Write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. So you've got 1/2, 0.55 and 45%. The first thing I would say is make sure that you are paying attention to what they've asked you to start with, because candidates do lose marks by doing this the wrong way around. So if it says start with the smallest number, make sure on your answer line you start with the smallest number there. Don't put the biggest number and work downwards, starting with the biggest, because you won't get the mark. Okay, how do we do this? Well, how can we compare these? We have to be able to compare them in order to be able to order them in size from smallest to biggest. But they're not all in the same format, so what you need to do is put them in the same format. Now, I would always recommend either working in decimals or percentages for this. My preference is decimals, because then I think you can always think about it in terms of money and order it that way. But whichever way you feel comfortable with, but I would definitely say not fractions, because you cannot easily compare things when they are in fraction form. So what I mean by fraction form is obviously this is fraction form, whereas this is a decimal and this is a percentage. So definitely don't put everything as a fraction. I would say either a decimal or a percentage. So as I said, my preference is decimal. So I've already got this one. I've already got that as a decimal. But how do I change this into a decimal? Well, this 45%, 45% means 45 out of 100, because the word percentage means 45 out of 100. And if I say that a different way, that is 45 hundredths. Okay, and if I think about that in my place value table, 45 hundredths sits here. 45 hundredths, 0.45. Okay, 45 hundredths. There you go, 45 hundredths. So this is 0.45 as a decimal. What is a half as a decimal? Because we're now looking at the fraction on the left. A half as a decimal. Well, if we think about this, if we want to try and get it into the same form as this, so out of 100, a half, in terms of something out of 100, we need to think about what is on top here. So what have I multiplied 2 by to get to 100? Or the other way you can think about it is 100 divided by 2. Well, 100 divided by 2 is 50. So in other words, I've multiplied my 2 by 50 to get to 100. And whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top to get my equivalent fraction over 100. So if I times this by 50, 1 lot of 50 is 50. So that is 50 hundredths. And if I put that in my place value table, 50 hundredths sits like that. 0.50. So we've got 0.50, 0.55 and 0.45. And this is the reason why I like to put them in decimals, because you can think about it as money now. So imagine if this is 45p, this is 55p, and this is 50p. You can easily order them from smallest to biggest. So the smallest is 45%, because I'm putting it back in its original form. That's the smallest, because remember it's told us to start with smallest first. Next is 50p, which was a half originally. And finally, the largest amount was 55p, which was just 0.55, its original form. And there you have it.